This is a big project which we're calling Modernising and Optimising our services, getting people on with us rather than doing it to them. And I think the message that's coming through is that, that the whole can be bigger than the sum of its parts. And in fact, in the local council's session, one of the representatives who had previously worked in Queensland had said, look, Queensland tried to do this. They didn't talk to anyone. They just sort of did it in the office, and it failed. So the more you can talk to people, the more you can get ideas, the better it will be. Over the course of 2016, there were 4 really major projects, part of our reform project agenda. The favoured option by the government was that we would lease out the centres as an entire entity to private providers. Obviously, we were going to keep a bit of a close eye on the social impact through a contract. The second project that we had, again in Sport and Rec, was looking at what the regional offices could best contribute to how we delivered our services. And the last 2 were more about high performance, capitalising on the fact that we've got 11 regional academies of sport spread around New South Wales. In mid-December, we got some really good news that we would keep the 11 sport and rec centres. It was a retain, modernise and optimise model. This to me was a fantastic opportunity to build a much more connected, cohesive and comprehensive regional sport delivery model. We've had our regional offices, we've had the 11 regional academies of sport, and we haven't really sort of talked to each other about how to best combine to deliver those services. So surrounding us are all our sector partners. So we manage our 9 regional offices, we manage our 11 sport and rec centres, and we also manage our grants funding program. So we believe we've got a fair amount of, influence and ability to coordinate those regional academies. We kind of see the project as having some key steps in it. First of all, it's just really looking at our current regions and perhaps better mapping them onto what the New South Wales government is saying is a better regional split. As I said before, consulting with stakeholders in each region is absolutely integral to this project. Then we're going to develop a new regional sport operating model that will sort of be an overarching model. Then we'll create specific customised regional sport and active recreation plans for each of and we're saying at the moment 10 regions. There could be some boundary realignment. And then the 5th part, which is all about the optimise part of the government's mandate, is to look at all our existing and the new resources that we can bring into the picture. So for us, this is very much about a place-based approach to the planning, investment and the delivery. Obviously, it's a chance for us to really do a very, very good job of making it a stakeholder-driven, customised program for each region. There is the possible relocation of entities, and as I said before, a large multi-round consultation approach. The Premier's priorities and the government priorities, slightly different lists, but it's important that whatever we do supports as many of those priorities as we can. And then we've also got some really good work done by the Greater Sydney Commission with respect to Sydney Metro. Just to pick up one of those, just to go to the future needs of sport infrastructure study. I'm not going to go into in detail all the inputs, but this was one of them. In that study, we got 111 projects that were submitted by sporting organisations. Only 12 were identified by both local councils and sport as being of high priority. So there's something there immediately that says, well, hang on, let's do a bit more coordination and let's get the local councils talking more with the sporting organisations so that there can be more alignment in what is considered high priority. This is some early thinking about what an overall operating model might look like. There we've got 4 quite large regions that we operate on. That's the New South Wales regional suggestion. They've broken New South Wales up into 10 different regions. What we're thinking at the moment is that our operating model will be dependent on groups of stakeholders who can contribute to the model. So we're saying there's 6 different contributors, and then overlaid on that is the concept of specific regional sport and active recreation plans for each region. Just one example of how we might envisage a particular regional plan is using what we're calling a regional sport hub model, and then precincts or areas that we call a regionally significant sport facility. And then of course we're always going to need local facilities as well. If we look at local government, they are the key funders of sport and active recreation. They also have a direct connection with their communities. If we look at us, the Office of Sport, there's three groups that are really integral to this. We've got Sport Development Group, the Sport Infrastructure Group, and then Sport and Recreation Services Group, the Regional Academies of Sport. So we need to make sure that there's a pathway for everyone. Our state and Commonwealth government partners, then we go to our other sector partners, and then we come to our sport and active recreation organisations. So this is seen as a really important project for that whole regional narrative of the government. State sporting organisations undoubtedly are our biggest stakeholder in the sports sector. We can never forget the clubs, also other active recreation organisations that are springing up all the time. Parkrun's a great example. And the third part is really just to go over some of the thinking we've done on our boundaries and potential locations. You can see we've got a reasonable spread throughout New South Wales. So we've got all three of our entities in some of the regions, but not others. That's quite telling, isn't it? We need to be very thoughtful and considered and creative about how we ensure that the 40,000 people that are spread over such a vast distance have access to services. And then the last part of what I wanted to share with you was the importance and the extensiveness with which we are getting input from our stakeholders. So we've got a three-stage consultation process. So we're just about to finish round one, which is what we're calling concept testing. We're going to go to each of the 10 regions, and in each of those regions we'll do 3 separate sessions. Then we'll put all the information that we've gathered together, and then we're going to go back out in probably August, September with what we're calling sort of town hall regional sessions, and go through with what we're thinking about the overall model and what potentially could be in their specific regional plan.